Okay, let's see if that's better. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if that's better. Hola, Jamie. I had my audio wasn't on. So can you hear me okay? Cool, cool. I'm going to get right into it. Like I said there in the comment, LaShawn's a bit under the weather this evening. She actually made a little video that will be up this weekend. So she'll explain everything that was going on. The anyone that's in the members can actually watch it now, but with that part out of the way, she wishes she could be here. She's sorry she couldn't, but she didn't know she'd be able to sit that long. So anyway, today is our third part in the series. We couldn't go live last week because of this actual situation, but this week we want to talk about comfort zones and getting into or getting out of your comfort zones, especially for people who want to retire and retire abroad. It can be a daunting task to get away from what you've been comfortable doing for many years, an entire life, depending on how mobile you were in your life and career. Being comfortable is something that I know I can say that it becomes a problem for a lot of people because they don't they don't see outside of their own little personal bubble, and they don't get a chance to really just enjoy the things that life can bring and the world, and try to get out of that rut that they're in. People get really comfortable, and when you try to change it, they don't know how to react sometimes. So today I want to focus on that, and also at the end talk about feeling accepted, because a lot of people do need to feel accepted wherever they are, whether it be foreign land or wherever it is they live now. People want to feel accepted, and want to talk about some of our experiences with that and with our own comfort zones. So the first thing I want to get into is relocating to an unfamiliar area. Specifically, for us, we're talking about we moved to another country. We moved to Ecuador, and for us, the unfamiliar part of it, the first thing that was a problem was just the language issue and the barrier there, and the culture being a bit unfamiliar, not completely foreign, but just a bit unfamiliar. I do think that our transition to South America would have is a lot easier than it would have been had we moved to like a Southeast Asian country where the culture is like so much more different. So I will say that if an unfamiliar area frightens you a little bit, but you're still willing to give it a shot, make it so that maybe it's not the most foreign place where everything isn't so different that you really don't have time to kind of soak it in and make the proper changes. But going back to my point about us being here in South America and Ecuador, what we had to do was understand that the differences that there were in the culture and infrastructure and everything here, we had to just really understand that that's just the way it is here. It's the way it's been here. us being here isn't going to change that. So we have to make a conscious effort to make ourselves at home here. And I think that some folks may or may not have issue with that, because you may come from somewhere and think that, well, why doesn't it run like this? Well, why doesn't it run like this? And even us, when we got here, we would say things like, well, why does this happen this way, and why does this happen this way, and how come this isn't like that? And quickly we had to kind of say, like, all right, why are we even asking that question? This isn't the United States. That's not a question for us to be asking here. Some people will come with that, that attitude, and of course we can come here with ideas and things that may help, but that's not our place. If you get what I'm saying. So I think that one issue that people have is that they come here with an idea of how things should be and how things should run, how things should look. And if that isn't the culture, then that's just not what it is. And trying to force it is only going to make things harder for you. Yes, sometimes it is hard for people to adapt to another culture. And I think that when it comes to retirement and planning, part of your planning should be researching that culture. Because one thing I can say is that some of the people that we run into, their reasoning for being here is some of the same reasons we have, is cost of living mainly, but they may not have taken any time to understand the culture beforehand. Like, they didn't really do any research beforehand, and didn't try to learn the language, didn't do any research, didn't understand what the culture was, didn't understand the people. And then when they get here, it's a much more difficult transition, because it's like they came in thinking that their culture should be like ours, rather than trying to adapt to their culture. And I think if you have a hard time adapting to a culture, then either your personality just ain't meshing with it, or you just didn't take the time to research and figure out as much as you could about the culture before moving to that area. For us, our friend Stephanie schooled us on a lot of stuff, a lot of things that I may not have even considered looking into, as far as like the history of Ecuador, not how it is now, but like the history and how it led up to the way things are now. And then trying to do some research on my own, and still to this day I'm learning new things. I'm learning new things all the time. Jamie, one thing I just can't get over is not letting people out of the elevator. It's a fully packed elevator. Let me off. Every room for you. Yeah. I will say that with the traveling that LaShawn and I have done, and just my knowledge of several other cultures and places that I've been, the American and possibly Canadian sense of personal space is different. And that was even kind of a hard one for me to get over, even though I know that's the case. So if you're anywhere in like Asia, Middle East, just a lot of places. You're here in South America, personal space isn't quite the same as it is that we're used to in the United States, and to an extent in Europe, you can run into some personal space issues. That one is just kind of difficult, and like you said, people not letting you out the elevator is like, why? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. No one likes to be in a packed elevator, and if that happens, then you just kind of have to, maybe you have to push your way out a little bit. But yeah, that's annoying. And personal space is one that it can be difficult to get over. It really can. I don't like anyone close enough to me that they could put their hands in my pockets. That's inherently annoying to me. But I know one time we were on a train in Dubai, in downtown Dubai, and it was kind of like a rush hour, and that thing was packed. I mean, we were in there like sardines. And I was like, man. And LaShawn, we were just uncomfortable with that whole situation. But it was just normal there. It was just completely normal. So yeah, that's one of those things, and I'm actually glad you brought up the elevator thing, Jamie, because it made me think of the whole personal space issue, and that is something that if you don't know and you're not used to it, you might end up getting in a fight that you didn't intend on, but you felt like somebody was kind of pushing up on your personal space, and now you got to defend yourself or something. And sometimes in certain places they use that situation to pickpocket people. So it's another reason to be uncomfortable with it. Thank you for that. But yeah, being unfamiliar in an unfamiliar area, wherever that is, you really have to educate yourself as much as possible if you know you're going to be in a place. If for some reason you're visiting an area and you didn't know you were going to be there, okay, that's different. But if you know you're going to be somewhere, you should really do some research and find out the little things, the little intangibles that might just irk you to the point where that's not the place you want to be. You could say like a place like here in Salinas, if you all the research you did just shows beautiful beaches, but you get here and you're like, man, there's like trash in these places and that place, and there's these dogs and whatnot. I didn't see that in my research. Well, those are the kind of things you really got to look at. And if you know anybody on the ground, you got to ask them if that's even possible. But those unfamiliar areas, yeah, that it can be daunting. It can be frightening. But research. One thing we always say is do research. Just research, research, research. The next thing I want to discuss, something that I think we should all like, but I do know that some people are very peculiar, very picky, not peculiar, but very picky about the foods they eat and where those foods are cooked, where it came from, what it is, how it's cooked. And if you're insanely picky, moving abroad might be a problem. Unless you go somewhere, you know what? No, you moving abroad could be a problem because different cultures treat food different ways. And there are places here that we would eat that if we went to that same establishment in the United States and had the same setup, we'd probably say, this wouldn't pass a health inspection or something, and probably walk out. Even though there's really nothing inherently dirty about what's going on there, it's the visual of it, and that we're not used to. Street foods, things of that nature. If you're not the least bit adventurous with food, that could be a problem depending on where you're going. I can say for me and LaShawn is that we love trying new food. We've tried so many different things here in Ecuador, and the food is absolutely incredible. We've tried things that we wouldn't have tried otherwise. Seen things that look good, and we still don't try. But I'll give you an example. There's these carts that roll around all over the place, and I know you remember back in the day, ice cream truck would come around, and they'd have like the slushies, a little slushy machine on there, shaved ice or whatever, and pour that syrup, Kool-Aid stuff on it. Delicious, right? Well, they have the same thing here, except it'll be like a guy on a bicycle cart, and he'll have a big block of ice, and it'll be stuck to this wheel, and he'll turn it, and it'll scrape ice off and into a little cup, and he'll have his bottles of flavoring syrup, and he'll pour it. Looks great. I'm telling you, when it's hot there, it looks delicious. We still haven't tried it. Only because I don't know where that ice came from. Yes, you could say I'm snobby about that, but it's just one of those things that like I know it's probably fine, but I don't know if it's fine. And that's the problem. Now, if you are frying something in front of me, that's different. Okay, the heat will kill anything on it. But that ice, I can't. But that being said, we still will try foods that maybe we saw it in the States, we kind of question it. And honestly, the same thing should go for like those slushies in the states, the snow cones, because even though you see them scooping ice, or whatever, you don't know if they put their hands in it at some point. And anyway, there's questions behind all that stuff. That being said, the like we were saying is that trying new food can be scary to some people. Now, if you're moving to a new place, you might want to know what kind of foods are your cup of tea. That's right, Jamie. It's not worth eating ice. Those things look so good. I'm telling you, I've been so tempted to buy them, but no, I'm just not willing to risk it. It's not worth that much. I'll just go buy some Kool-Aid if I want it that bad. But yeah, you might want to do some research into the kind of foods that are eaten in the place that you're going, because, like I said, culturally, people are totally different. The things that people eat in one culture, other cultures think is disgusting. Like if you go somewhere in Southeast Asia, even in some place here in South America, Mexico, insects will be on the menu. And if it disgusts you, then like that's something you should know beforehand. That like if you're walking down the street, you might see scorpions and bugs and all kinds of stuff served up. You got to understand that it's not a food you have to try, but you got to understand like the people's culture that's normal to them. So if the water isn't drinkable, I'm sure the ice is probably from that same water. Yeah, I always tell LaShawn, like I don't know, that ice could be toilet water for all I know. Who knows where it came from? It's just covering up with syrup. But I would have never had an opportunity to eat a guinea pig had I not come to South America. I've known for years that people ate them, but you can't get one in the United States to eat. They're always pets. To me, the opportunity to try something new is just kind of awesome. I love trying new things and new ways of having things prepared. Now, there are things there are places where I'll draw the line, but the adventure of it, if you're a retiree and you want to move to another country, there's a certain amount of adventure when it comes to the food. If you come here and you only eat food that you were used to eating before, then like I don't know, I feel like it's kind of a waste. Like why waste the opportunity to eat some really great food that's probably cheaper than the food that you're used to eating anyway? And why deny yourself that? You really have to kind of open your mind a little bit and be just a little adventurous. You don't have to go crazy. Like I still ask if there's mustard in my food, even if I'm trying something new. Is there mustard in this? Because I may not like it. But I'm not afraid to try something new, and neither is LaShawn. And LaShawn's a picky eater too, but she will try something. She doesn't have an issue trying something new if it looks pretty appetizing. We definitely want to visit Peru because we've had Peruvian food on a few occasions, and we've loved it every time. So a visit to Peru is definitely in our future. Stay tuned for that because whenever we do that, we're definitely going to be eating as much as we can because from what we've heard and what we've tasted, Peruvian food is fantastic. So trying new foods in unfamiliar areas is always, to me, a plus. If that's a problem, then why? If your only reason for moving abroad or moving away is financial, then I can kind of understand it. But if you are going to move to a foreign place, at least try to blend into that place as much as possible. Like I don't want to stick out to the point where if people see us, they know we're gringos. I don't really want that. They might be able to tell, but I don't want that to be like a siren going off. Like, hey, those are two gringos right there. I don't like that. So yeah, I go into the local restaurants. We go into local restaurants. We eat the local food. We don't order like the most generic thing on the menu. We get a little adventurous and it's like, okay, what's this? Yeah, that's what I want. There's nothing wrong with that. And being a little adventurous is actually pretty good. It might be eye-opening for you. You try something new, and you'll realize that, yeah, I should have done this a long time ago. So, another thing, I briefly mentioned this, but learn a new language. So, yes, this may be the most daunting task if you are retiring in a foreign place, because it's the one thing that will be the most difficult for you to probably do. It's going to take the most actual effort if it's something you want to do. Now, we know plenty of expats that have not taken any time to learn Spanish. That's their decision. Personally, that I don't understand it, because I want to be able to understand something that someone's saying to me. And LaShawn is even more so like that, where she really wants to know everything someone is saying to her. Food scene in Cuenca is amazing. Yeah, we got to get back to Cuenca sooner rather than later, because I do want a chance to eat my way through Cuenca. And I know there was a street that we were on that had a whole bunch of like roasted pigs. I don't remember, like, anyway, there's a bunch of like roasted pigs and whatnot. I just want some chicharrones and some like pulled pork and stuff. We got to get back to Cuenca. When Duolingo introduced me to, second past tense, I threw my yeah. I put myself on a self-imposed break from Duolingo. It's been, I don't think I've touched it in maybe a month and a half. I got to get back into it. And another program that LaShawn uses, I think it's Language Transfer. But learning language is difficult, and the older we get, the harder it is. This is when I wish I still had a 10-year-old brain. I could just soak this stuff up and learn it and spit it out. But for me personally, it's not a scary thing, because I don't know. I kind of enjoy like the little bit of adventure of trying to figure out what's going on, figure out what people are saying. And we've got Google Translate now. It's not perfect, but it's something you didn't have 15, 20 years ago to fall back on. So it does make it a little easier. I have found that Language Transfer is great. Yeah. I got to start using it. I've just been BSing, honestly. But I find myself being able to pick out keywords that, even if I don't understand the entire sentence, the whole conversation, I can pick out little keywords that will help me ask the right questions to clarify. And I think that's just how you start learning. And I'm not a big like sit down and study type of person. LaShawn is. That's really not me. I hate anything that feels like school, and I'd rather just learn it on the fly. So we learn a little different. I will say that she's much better at like the verbs and understanding all that stuff and knowing when to change it and all this. I'm just more like whatever. I just say whatever. If it's wrong, then they might laugh at me. But once I know it's wrong, then I know not to say that again. I just kind of go for it, or I just ask, slow down. Poquito español, and then I'll have to try to clarify what's going on. But for someone that is coming here and not knowing any of the language and just kind of relying on the Google Translate or relying on someone to translate for you, to me that would get annoying. Especially just always have someone translate for you, like that's just annoying to me. You want to be able to do certain things. So I'll give you an example. I had to go by myself to make an appointment. And, going into like the hospital and everything to make the appointment, I thought like, okay, is my phone going to work back here? Am I going to have a signal if I need to use Google Translate? And I did have a signal. I did end up using Google Translate, but it wasn't like the daunting task that I envisioned in my head. Like, it's like, how am I going to explain, what I'm trying to do? And it really wasn't that hard, honestly. The person behind the counter used their Google Translate as well to help me out, and we came together and figured out what exactly was I needed, and that was it. It's not as scary as it seems. So I would say that, like, if learning a language is something that frightens you, it shouldn't. It's an adventure. Yeah, if you're a little older, trying to learn something new like that, it can be a problem. But then I would say, like, well, if you're not willing to even try, you may never be fluent at it. If you're not willing to even try, then is that move something really for you? Because it's almost just like, I'm only here because it saves me money, not because I like it here or because I like the people here or I like the culture here. I'm just here to save a buck. I don't really care about anything else. I'm only going to speak English. That's I don't like that argument. It's not the argument that Americans will allow foreigners in the U.S. who, if they all came over and said, I'm only speaking French, I'm only speaking Spanish, I'm only speaking Portuguese or Russian or whatever. We say, well, this is America. You need to speak American English, but it wouldn't be accepted. So, why should it be accepted here? At least try. You don't have to be fluent. At least try. You have to at least learn your numbers. Yeah, man, that's the easiest thing. Everybody knows that. You learned that stuff by accident. There's parts of Spanish that you just learn by osmosis and just being around humans that you're going to learn. And a lot of the words are the same. A lot of words are similar. But yeah, just try. Just try. At the very least, learn your numbers and learn how to order food. Because we learn so many words just ordering food. So once you learn a new language, or you don't want to learn a new language, or you're uncomfortable with it, the other thing you're going to have to do is meet new people. And some of these people you might like, and some of them you might not like. And vice versa. Some of them will like you, and some of them won't. So let me explain this topic real quick. Some people will move abroad, move to a new place, with the expectation of meeting a lot of new people. And Drops is a good app for food and number. Drops. I have to check that out. Meeting new people. So some people will have the expectation that they're going to meet, a lot of new people, and people are going to want to meet them, and that is probably true, depending on where you're going. I can say that here, in our personal experience, we have met a ton of people, a lot of really, really, really nice people, genuinely nice people. And then we've met people that we could care less that we exist. And not that that's a bad thing inherently, but what I mean is, like, don't acknowledge you. Like, in a way that's like, I'm not even going to try to talk to you, if that makes sense. Yeah, those people can kind of, they can go away. But for the most part, most people we meet they're fantastic. If you're the type of person that loves meeting people and is inherently, like, not even inherently friendly, but just kind of inherently, like, when you meet someone, you want to get to know them immediately. You ask about their family, what they do, where they live, all the questions that you would normally ask. Once you've known someone, you met them a few times and you've had some conversations with them. you're going to run into people who don't want to tell you all that. And if that you feel like that turns you away, then you might want to rethink how you introduce yourself to people. I can say that we've been asked questions that we were uncomfortable answering to people that we did not know. And I understand. Like, I'm not angry with those people at all. I actually understand why they're asking those questions, because we're in a place where like a new expat shows up and it's just curiosity, it's natural human curiosity to ask certain questions. But it's almost like they're so used to asking those questions and getting the answers that when they don't get the answers, it seems like you're the one that's standoffish. And no, it's just that, like, I don't know you. This isn't a question I would ask you. Why are you asking me? And that's just how we see it. Now, we're never like, mean to anyone or anything like that. And we'll just keep talking. But the issue is that, like, if you're that type of person, you may run into people who are more like us, who aren't really going to tell you all that. Like, we may eventually mention it, but asking us isn't the way to get that information. You may also have an issue with you meet people, you get really friendly with them, and once you've invited them over 3 or 4 times and this and that, then you start finding out things about them you don't like. Jamie, because gringos are majority, I feel hurt when a gringo doesn't at least acknowledge me when we pass on the street. Yeah, hold on. A little thing is in the way here. I don't need a conversation, just nod. Yeah. Have you crossed paths with people who think you shouldn't be there? I don't know. It would seem, it's hard to explain. Like, it seems sometimes like maybe people are thinking like, oh, why are you here? But that's rare. That's really rare, and I've only felt like that a couple times, maybe more than a couple. But it's still really rare in comparison to how many people we've met. And the other part of, like, the acknowledgement when someone walks past you, I'll usually nod and either say hello or hola, because I don't always assume that someone I see, even if I think they're a gringo, like, I don't just assume they are. I'll say hola, or I'll do the head nod. If they decide to respond back or not, that's up to them. But there are definitely definitely been times where I just knew you could just kind of tell, like, this person is just refusing to speak to me, because another gringo, this happened in the store, another gringo come around the corner that they didn't know, and they just start having a conversation with them. Well, you've been standing next to me for 10 minutes. So, yeah, maybe it's misidentification. Maybe they thought I was from somewhere else, even though I was clearly speaking English. But anyway, they can say the same thing about me. I didn't speak to them either, but I got a vibe. I got a vibe. But yeah, the meeting people, and you might get to know them a little bit, and then you start realizing that there are things about them you don't like or don't agree with, whether it be like political, religious, whatever. Like, someone says something, and then all of a sudden now you're like, yeah, I don't really want to deal with that person. Well, the problem with that is, and this is kind of the reason that we don't get involved in a lot of expat activities, it's not because we don't like the people. It's just because there may be certain people or people in the groups that you just don't get along with. And the expat bubbles are, pretty small. You're going to run into these people everywhere you go. Anytime there's a function, expat function or something, like, you're going to run into that person. And, all of a sudden there's maybe a little animosity. They're like, oh man, we were cool for a while, and all of a sudden I haven't heard from you in 3 months. That's the reason that we just don't over involve ourselves in things, because if there's people we don't agree with, we're not going to be out here talking about them. We're not going to tell anybody, yeah, I don't like this. We don't do that. just not going to be there. So this isn't like an indictment on any one person. If anybody's watching this, I'm just saying that we're more careful. We're a lot more careful about who we involve ourselves with and how often we do things in groups. It's nothing. It's nothing against any one particular person. It's just that it's easier, it's safer that way if we just kind of compartmentalize ourselves like that. And our groups, our group of close friends is pretty small for that reason. You coming as an expat, you'll run into groups and people that, like I said, you may not like. There's gonna be people you love, and there's people you just like. I don't dislike the person, but I don't really like some of the things that that person believes or says or does. So now I don't want to really be around them. I don't want to be associated with them. And then you're gonna have yourself in a situation where someone you like invites you to something, but guess what? That other person's gonna be there. Jamie, my husband, is much older, so I assume some people think he's my sugar dad. But I don't want the money. LOL. Young expats can be looked at differently. Yeah. For us here, I can definitely say that like there aren't that many younger expats. If you're just talking about age, we're on the younger side, definitely. I do think there's a few, maybe a couple folks here that are younger than us that we know. But yeah, thinking about it, no, we're way down at kind of at the bottom when it comes to age. So I wish, honestly, there was maybe a bigger presence of younger expats here, because I have seen some younger ones here. Maybe they weren't permanent because I haven't seen them very often, but I wish there were more, because I would like to know what their experience is as younger people being expats. Because the functions and things that we have done, we don't see anyone really younger than us usually. So yeah, that's actually a good point, Jamie. I wish I could talk to some younger expats to see what their experience is, because that would be interesting to know, and what kind of circles they move in. Because the issue, we don't have issues, like I said, with the expats here in general. It's definitely not like an age thing. It's just that we're just really private and kind of to ourselves most of the time anyway. So you're 44, there's a Young Expats Facebook group, but it's not very active. I would imagine it isn't, because I don't think Ecuador is a destination for young expats. Not at least not like Cuenca or Quito or even Salinas. Yeah, I think more of the young expats would try to be in like Brazil and Colombia, a place like that. More party town, more party places. Not to say that all young expats are partiers, but I think they want a little more excitement than a lot of places in Ecuador could provide them. But I could be totally wrong about that. Now, next, using public transportation. The reason that I threw this on the list is because in the States, there's kind of a stigma. Now, it depends on where you live. It depends on where you live. So if you live in a big city where public transportation is something that's just really common, whether it be like New York, LA, Chicago, just places where like public transportation doesn't have that stigma. And I don't even know why it does, honestly, but there's a stigma with public transportation, like, oh, these are poor people that use public transportation, like the buses and stuff like that. That's really not the case. It's a good way to get around. Just the public transportation system isn't very good in the United States. So you move to a foreign place, there's a good chance that public transportation is a lot more utilized than it is in the States. Here in Ecuador, like Salinas, like we don't have any, of course, no rail system or anything like that, but there's taxis and buses everywhere, and you see all types of people on in these taxis and on these buses. There is no stigma around it that we can tell. We ride the bus all the time, really no big deal. But you may have to kind of do some evaluation of yourself, because if you are the type that had like an opinion of people that ride buses, if you've never ridden a bus in the States, you might think like, oh, I'm not riding a bus in another country. That's lower than it was in the States. You know, you don't want to come here with that kind of attitude. If you don't have a vehicle, and because some people will come here and they will definitely want a vehicle, and I understand if that's what you want, because they want to be able to drive and go where they want and not use public transportation. But that's not really like the first option for a lot of people. You may not mind taking a taxi or the bus, and you'll realize that one thing we realized for the first, I think, 6 or so months, or maybe more, maybe 6 months, that we were here, like we didn't ride the bus. Number one, we didn't know the routes, and it was just so easy to catch a taxi. Everyone made the city-to-city buses sound like you will be robbed. But Monta to Guayaquil to Cuenca was wonderful. Bus system in Monta is nice and is amazing in Cuenca. Yeah, we took the bus from Guayaquil to Cuenca, and you know, other than it being on a cliff, it was fine. Bus robberies happen, but there's so many buses going back and forth on these roads. Like it's not like you're definitely going to get robbed on these buses. It's almost like saying, in the States, like how many carjackings happen? Well, there's lots of carjackings, but then compare that to how many people get in their car every day. It's the number's fairly low. It's enough to make you think about it, but the number's fairly low. So yeah, the bus system here is pretty robust. People use the buses a lot because it's inexpensive way to get around the country. The roads in the country and the roads in the U.S. are different. You can't just get in your car and do 80 miles an hour to get where you're going, because there's almost no place in the country where you can drive that fast. So the bus is just a really inexpensive way to get around. So yeah, for us, we realized that, man, we're only taking a taxi. Most of the time, we're taking a taxi to like Supermaxi or to the mall. And if we go to the mall, we go for whatever reason, or we might be going to the Ypres market at the mall, and then another ride home. So here to Supermaxi is $2. Here to the mall is $3. Well, then back is either $2 or $3. So you spend either $4 or $6 for that trip. When we realize that, okay, well, we're going to the mall or we're going to Supermaxi. Well, let's at least cut that price in almost half. So let's spend 70 cents for both of us to get on the bus. It's 35 cents a piece. Ride to Supermaxi or ride to the mall, get all the groceries or whatever we're going to buy, and then just take a taxi back home. Well, instead of spending $6 to go to the mall, we spent, $3.70. Well, those things add up over time. It may not sound like much. You're a big baller or whatever. You're like, oh, it's only a couple dollars. It's a couple dollars, but it adds up. It adds up over time, because we take taxis and stuff to a lot of different places. And I'm not saying we take the bus only to like Supermaxi or to the mall. It could be anywhere in between, and we'll take the bus because it's so much better than paying the $2 or $3. And depending on where it is, if we're not going to get like groceries or something, we'll take the bus back, right, to save us a couple more dollars. So yeah, taxis to bring groceries home, bus or walk. Exactly. Because what's the reason? Like sometimes we get a lot of groceries, and there's no way we're getting on the bus with all them groceries. So we take a taxi home. That's just the most common sense way to do it. But yeah, if we're going to like someplace that's in between here and the mall, we'll get on the bus, and then when we're done, we'll get right back on the bus and go back. Altogether, we paid $1.40 rather than $6. And like I'm saying, those things add up because, like, think about this: if I want to pay for anything, water jugs, all right, three of them cost me $4.50. Well, I just saved $4, by taking the bus to wherever we had to go. So that's just how I look at it, and there shouldn't be a stigma around it. It's the system that the people here use. You see you see all kinds of people on the bus, kids, adults, older people. Um, there shouldn't be a stigma around it. Now you just got to be able to get on and off while the bus is moving. Sometimes they're heavy footed, but yeah, it shouldn't be any kind of a stigma around it. It's it's just a way to get around, and you just have to learn. Here the harder part was learning the routes, because we had to just kind of learn from people who had ridden the bus. So somebody's got to be that adventurer to go out there first and ride the bus. But yeah, for us, I think the reason that we took so long to do it is just because it excuse me, just because we didn't know the routes. We had no way to know where we were going. So yeah, that's something you should definitely look into if you're moving abroad. Look into the public transportation system, because it can save you a ton of money. Next, bonus topic: feeling accepted. So when you come here, this kind of goes into meeting people. You will end up probably in some expat groups, and what I mean by that is, like, you're going to end up meeting a lot of expats, and you're going to end up getting, like, invited to things. You may invite people to things. There are a lot of expats who do have the need to feel like accepted by the group. But the problem is, a lot of groups that we've just personal experience, groups can be kind of cliquey, and I don't even want to say elitist, but just kind of cliquey. And you may, even though you may be looking for acceptance by that group, you may not feel accepted by that group for whatever reason. If, as an expat, that's something that might bother you, you really got to think about, like, the circles you're going to be in and how you're going to have yourself put out there, because not everybody's going to accept you for who you are. There's a movie that works in Salinas, has bus routes. I gotta check it, because I want to say someone told me a while back about that app, and I wasn't sure. I'm gonna try it. Before I say that I tried it before and it didn't work, I'm gonna try it again, because I do remember someone mentioning that over a year ago. But for the most part, now we know the routes. But yeah, for someone coming here, that would be some good information. And I'm going to look that up. And thank you, Jamie, because I wasn't even thinking about it. But yeah, if you have the desire to feel accepted, getting involved in expat circles might be the thing you want to hesitate to do. Just because, you're setting yourself up for a disappointment, because the person that you think might be somebody that's, this person feels me, this person accepts me, or this group accepts me, and then you find out, because people gossip and you hear stuff that, like, this person said something about you and this person said something about you, and now it's like high school again. Don't try not to put yourself out there like that if you don't have to. If you're coming here by yourself, I get it. You want someone to talk to, some companionship, some friends. I would just say, personally, don't do it by getting involved in groups. Meet people individually, talk to them, get to know them a little bit, and figure out, are these the people who are really nice, really kind, and genuinely like truthful with me as a friend, or is this the kind of person that just takes everything I tell them and then they go and tell someone else, and they're just here to gossip and learn about me and not they don't really care, you know. You definitely want to be careful about that, and if feeling accepted is a thing, then, like, you really got to think about it, because I know me personally and LaShawn, we don't care if anybody likes us. It's no skin off our back. So that's not an issue for us at all. Now there's people here that we absolutely love, and I give them the shirt off my back. But as far as needing to feel accepted, no, no. I only need to be accepted by my wife. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. So, like I said, especially when someone's coming here by themselves, if being accepted, needing to be accepted is something that's important to you, think about that. Think about the circles you're going to be putting yourself in. I wouldn't personally put my information on in a Facebook group and say, "Hey, I'm such and such. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be moving. I'm by myself." And blah. I wouldn't do all that. I wouldn't do all that. Not at all. Just show up. Lurk in the group. Learn everything you can. Maybe ask some questions. Don't tell people when you're coming. Just show up and just see how people treat you, and go from there. Learn people the way that you probably should, because people can have any kind of identity online, and then when you meet them in person, you're like, man, this person isn't the person I thought they were. So, yeah, feeling accepted. If that's what you need, then you might want to rethink a move abroad, because it might be disappointing for you, or it might be great. I can't say for sure. It might be great, but you might be let down at some point. So that's basically the end of this. We'll see if we're gonna add another part of the series when LaShawn's feeling better. I'm sorry she's not here. So make sure you tune in on Sunday. Like I said, LaShawn made a little video about her situation, explaining everything, most of everything. And anyone who's a member can actually see it now. But please, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate any feedback. This live will be back up once YouTube processes it. It's weird. But yeah, thank you, Jamie, and be beautiful. Thank you for coming, and thank you for watching, and we will be back